I'm the dude. So that's what you call me.
Are you a virgin?
Yeah, not since I was 10.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
Come on to the coast. We get together, have a few laughs.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Can I return it if it doesn't fit?
It always fits. Eventually.
Welcome back to Movie Mingle. I'm Caveman.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we're coming to you after just getting out of watching Joker Folie à Deux.
Folie à Deux?
Folie à Deux.
Yeah.
The Folie of Two.
We went and watched that Joker movie, everybody, so that you don't have to.
Or maybe you'd like to.
Honestly, we will be spoiling the fuck out of
heavy
this.
spoilers.
Heavily.
The heaviest of spoilers.
The heaviest. So if you want to find out what happens without going to see it, feel free to listen in. If you want to go see it or wait until it's out on Max in about 2.5 months, where they're desperately trying to make more money off of it, come back and listen to this episode. Either way, it's up to you. We can't force you to do anything, but we forced ourselves to go pay $9 to watch this movie. Although it only cost both of us $9 thanks to Tuesday specials and club prices. And I'm glad it wasn't more than $9. That's all I can say. Caveman?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I really liked it.
Yeah, really?
I did. I was actually trying to dislike it.
Yeah.
And I haven't read the negative reviews.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be spoiled, and I didn't want to go in with a pre-perceived idea of what I was getting into or what people's issues were with it. So I don't know what people's issues were with it. My only issue with the whole movie is I think it could have been shorter. Mm-hmm. Like a good hour 45 probably could have been just fine. There was about 30 minutes of it that I think could have been taken out. Because there was definitely parts that dragged on. But I liked this movie more than the first one. And
wow.
I mean, if you listen to our Joker podcast, you'll hear that I didn't really care for it too much. I don't remember how many stars I gave it. It was probably either 3 or 3.5, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere in there, I'm sure.
I would give this one a 4.
Oh, really?
It would have been a 4.5, but I really do think it dragged on too long. Not that it was boring. I was never bored because I was always just very engaged in what was happening. Essentially, I went into it not, the first time when I watched the first Joker, I imagined it being, this is going to be a Batman Joker movie.
Yeah.
This is Joker. DC's releasing it. So this is Batman's Joker.
Yeah.
And that is one reason why I was very disappointed with the first one. This one, I went into it thinking, I'm going to watch an Arthur Fleck musical.
Yeah.
That takes place after he gets arrested for killing 6 people. Mm-hmm. I think because of that, I just enjoyed myself a lot more. Yes, they're in Arkham Hospital. Yes, it takes place in Gotham.
You do see Wayne splashed across a building at one point. You see a Wayne building, not tower, but
Harvey Dent is the DA.
Is there. Yeah.
So yeah, there's plenty of winks, just like the first one. The first one, I think, leaned way too much into Joker with going to Wayne Manor and putting his fingers in Bruce's mouth.
That part is so fucking gross.
At the end, you've got Bruce Wayne and his parents going into Crime Alley. Mm-hmm. And in this one, they really didn't lean into the Batman of it all this time and just made it a character story of Arthur Fleck and a look at how society treats people with mental illnesses. That's what I got out of it. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the guards making fun of him, beating him. Yes, he killed 6 people. That's unforgivable.
Yeah.
He did it all in cold blood. The first 2, in his mind, may have been self-defense, even though he attacked them after they attacked him.
Well, I mean, they attacked him first. He was...
Right, and you could say self-defense, but the way he killed them was more than just self-defense. It was self-defense turned kind of just murder. And then killed his mom. There's no excuse for that. He killed his friend and coworker. There's no excuse for that. He killed
Robert De Niro's
Robert
character.
De Niro's character, who I
Yeah.
can't remember right now. Even though they say it 100, Murray.
It's something. Yeah.
They say it 100 times in this movie, but it really was. I was just fascinated with it. I was glued to the screen.
Yeah, I looked at you a couple of times. You were into it.
I had a little grin on my face
Yeah.
as I was watching it.
Psycho.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I tried my hardest to hate it because of how many people were saying it's bad.
Yeah.
With how my feelings of the first one. But at the same time, I wanted to put on my critic hat. You know, I'm not a professional critic. I wish I was. That'd be fun to get
Your
paid for that.
amateur critic hat.
I am an amateur.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I liked it. Because
One day we're going to get paid to be critics.
I'm
for
sure there's
movies.
like details that I should have paid more attention to that
Yeah.
other critics are complaining about. You know, they didn't flesh out Harley Quinn well enough, or, you know, what was the point of the whole movie? I after the events of Joker 1, seeing him go through, like, if this was just a movie of a guy going through the same exact
If it was the same story without
it being Joker,
quote unquote the Joker.
it would have been, I think it would have been more well received, and that was my argument for the first one.
Yeah.
If it was just, my argument for the first one, the reason for it to call it Joker was to get more butts in the seats, and they made $1 billion because of it. Now they do it again as a sequel, and it's just a court drama / musical.
Yeah, just like Chicago, but dimmer.
But yeah, much darker than
Much
Chicago.
drearier.
Which, boy, I didn't know we could get darker than Chicago. But
Chicago's a lot of fun.
It's
Pop,
fun.
six, squish.
yeah, the music's fun. I also,
Lip shit.
you know, I remember complaining about the sound, the music in the first one from Hildur, and I can't pronounce her last name, but she won an Oscar
Yeah,
for
she
the
did.
music in the first one.
Yeah.
And I remember saying in our podcast that I didn't care for her music.
Yeah, I didn't care for the music either.
I liked the music in this one.
Was it still...
Yeah, it's still done by her. There was
honestly,
more soundtrack music.
I don't
in it.
remember like the score versus what was being sung.
I'm curious to see. I'm sure she wrote the original music, the original
Yeah, score.
songs. I don't know if Lady Gaga had anything to do with the original songs.
There weren't any original songs. They were all covers of old standards.
Were they?
They were all covers of old standards.
I don't know old standards,
Yeah.
so
They
they're
were-
new to me.
Yeah.
I know she came out with an album
Yes.
recently,
Harley Quinn's actually pretty legit.
and
It's kind of a beautiful descent into madness when you listen to it.
I have a coworker
And a
who is
lot
obsessed with it.
of the songs from this movie are on that album, but it's not a soundtrack to this movie.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
her own versions of these songs. So Maggie,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I already know what the answer is going to be. But how'd you feel about Joker Folie à Deux?
I didn't hate it.
Okay. I mean, that's similar to the way you answered about Joker 1.
I know.
I was actually expecting you to say, 1 star, bunch of bullshit. I
Fucking
hated
garbage.
everything.
End of podcast. Oscar Isaac should
we're
have been
outta
in
here.
it. Done. No.
Oscar Isaac should have been. He should have been Joker.
He should have been
goddammit.
the Joker, goddammit.
He's great at being mad.
I'll come across this table.
I know you
I
will.
will fucking Harley Quinn. You don't even think I wouldn't. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It, to me, was far too long. It was boring, but it wasn't boring because the story wasn't riveting. It was boring because it had no soul. There was a lack of something to the making of this. Like, everybody was doing their best and going through the performances, and I'm gonna leave it up to the direction. I think that there was a bit of love missing in the making of this movie. I don't know if that's because what's his face?
Todd Phillips.
Thank you. What's his face? Didn't really want to do this movie. And I'm going to read you some excerpts from a Variety article that I found very funny that I read on the way home.
Sure.
But I felt like it was lacking in a soul. Like, everybody just seemed to be going through the motions, and it wasn't... There was no love for the characters. There was no love for the world there. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like it was all just dead behind the eyes, right? Like, there was no real passion to this story across the board by any of them. This story was fairly interesting, far too long. You're right. Could have cut out a half an hour easily. It was interesting to see the dynamics of the guards, you know, how kind they were to Arthur and then how cruel they were to him in the same moment. You know, there was no reason for Brandon Gleeson, who was delightful, to take Arthur to that song therapy or that music therapy group, right? And then how did Harley even know that he was going to be there? She checked.
Didn't.
No, she didn't, but she checked herself into that mental institution in order to get closer to Arthur, but she never knew.
I think she probably had an idea that if I'm at least in the same hospital, maybe we'll bump into each other.
Yeah. But then why? Yeah, I don't know. So, like, they
were written to meet each other.
Yeah. But then there were some moments where it's like, well, how and why, right? How did she get into that guard cell? Did she pay him off?
Some of this stuff I don't think actually happened.
You don't think they had sex?
That's a tough one.
I think they had sex.
I don't even think she's pregnant.
I don't think she's pregnant. Because
it seems unlikely that she made it into that cell.
The sex scene was gross. It was.
I love how much you were just so.
It was
like
so cringy.
Squirmy.
It was so cringy. It's so gross, and it just makes me feel for both of those actors. I don't know. Again, I'm not. I don't really like Joaquin Phoenix that much. I find him pretentious and douchey, and I always will. But he did a great job again as Arthur. But there was just nothing behind the eyes. There was no.
I think he's playing it that way, though.
But none of them had anything behind it. There was no soul to this movie, and that's what I kind of. That's what I came off of. Was just like they were all going through the motions, but I don't feel like there was any joy there.
Well, it's not a joyful
story. But you're still making a Hollywood movie. You're still doing something for your craft. You're making a fucking musical, and it all just felt flat to me.
Well, it's all sad.
There are plenty of sad musicals that aren't flat. I just
don't understand how it's flat.
To me, there was nothing behind the eyes. It was dead behind the eyes. I can't explain that to you, but that's what I felt watching it. I thought beautifully shot, set decoration was stunning, cinematography was pretty decent. You know, I was engaged enough in the story. Like, you know, I was engaged enough in the story overall. The acting was all fairly decent, but it was just dead behind the eyes for me.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know. There was no soul to it. There was no oomph. There was no I felt like none of them wanted to be there doing it, but they had to because Zaslav wanted another $1 billion movie.
Well, that's weird.
But okay, let's get into the Variety article then.
Okay.
I will say that Lady Gaga did a fine job. It wasn't phenomenal. The parts where they let her sing like Gaga was amazing. The parts where she just sang as Stephanie, whatever her last name is, I actually don't know offhand.
Stephanie?
Yeah, her real name. Lady Gaga's real name. Is Stephanie something Italian. I don't know. I'm not going to look it up either. But, I just, when she was just, singing, dry in her normal voice, it was a little scratch. I'm no singer, so I'm not even going to criticize. But, I enjoyed... The moments that I liked the most were the fantasy elements where it was the Joker and Harley TV show. And they're all dressed up and they're singing with all the band and all the auto-tune and all that nonsense. Yeah. Those are the songs that I enjoyed
the fantasy
the
moments.
most. The moments when they're just both kind of hoarse, kind of
because there's
out.
No music behind their singing.
I didn't enjoy that as much.
And they're just kind of mumble singing to each other.
Yeah.
But I think that was done on purpose.
I get that. I did not enjoy that.
Okay.
I enjoyed it when it was a little more spectacular. There's a Variety article written by Tatiana Siegel. This was on October 8th, so today, right? Yeah, this morning. It's called Inside Joker Folie du Debacle. Ted Phillips wanted nothing to do with DC on the $20 million misfire. Apparently, so just to paraphrase it, or to kind of skip around, Todd Phillips wanted, quote, nothing to do with DC, end quote, during the making of the film, says one agent familiar with the director's unique carve-out, which allowed him to bypass any oversight from the brand's gatekeepers. James Gunn and Peter Safran saw a cut of the film at one point, but they offered or were not allowed to offer, or any notes were not received by him at all.
Well,
by Todd Phillips.
It was said years ago that they weren't going to touch Matt Reeves or Todd Phillips movies.
Yeah. As the animated title card sequence unspooled inside the iconic Hollywood cinema in the opening minutes, it became apparent that Phillips had just given DC the middle finger. There was no DC's logo attached to the movie until the end.
Which I appreciate.
Quote, this is from a source familiar with internal awkwardness. If the first movie was about some down-on-his-luck, mentally ill guy in a downtrodden city, it makes maybe 150 million worldwide, not $1 billion. People showed up because that guy was the Joker.
Exactly.
And of course, there's reasons why Gunn and Safran weren't a part of it, this, that, and the other thing. The overreaching question being asked is, why spend $200 million to make and nearly $100 million to market a tentpole that ignores the DC fan base? And ignores, maybe putting it mildly. As a Rolling Stone review of the film succinctly put it, Joker has a message for the fans, go fuck yourselves.
Okay.
Which that was one thing that I heard a lot, was that a lot of people felt like this movie was giving a finger to like the fanboys and incels that were in love with the first one, right? The people that took it a little bit too far. I didn't get that to an extent, except at the end when Arthur is just like, I'm not the Joker, I'm just a sad man that killed people.
And then the real Joker killed him. Want to know how I got these scars?
I swear to fucking Jesus. I swear to goddamn Jesus. If this is Todd Phillips trying to make an origin for the Heath Ledger Joker, I will hunt him down and not do anything physical to him because this is being recorded and put out on the internet, but I swear to God I'll be pissed. How dare he, if that was his idea, come at...
I think it was a wink, but
this
is the origin story. Heath Ledger.
Fucking better be. I know that Warner Brothers wasn't necessarily keen on taking this film to the Venice Film Festival. They also weren't keen on shooting in Los Angeles. They felt that if they had filmed it in London, it would have cost 20% less. But Phillips insisted on shooting in Los Angeles. Inside, Studio Brass did not want to debut the film at Venice Film Festival as it had done 5 years ago with Joker, but Phillips pushed back. A Warner Brothers spokesperson says the studio fully supported the decision to bring the film to Venice, which sounds like, please stop asking us. We don't want to be a part of this, so to speak. Right. This also, Phillips refused to test screen Joker 2, so its premiere in Venice marked the first time an audience saw it. So, without test screening...
This all makes me like it even more.
Oh, God, fucking of course it does. But you've been known to like shitty movies, so...
Whoa. Hey there. This is not a shit... This is the problem with... If this wasn't his intention, if this was not Todd Phillips' intention, this was definitely something that backfired on him by calling the first one Joker. I think people were going into Joker 2 expecting for him to take what he built in Joker 1 and expand it even further into the Batman universe.
Okay, well, that goes back to, no one can get through to Todd, says one source directly involved with the film, and that's the one thing about genre stuff. If you don't listen and pay attention to what the fans' expectations are, you're going to fail. In fact, catering to the fan base was supposed to be the strategy. When Zavloff brought out a whole 10-year plan for DC to try to make it be a thing like Marvel. Yet somehow the Joker sequel was allowed to skirt that mandate, and Phillips operating in an alternative silo from the newly installed DC chiefs. Not surprisingly, core DC fans revolted, and the result is a damage to the brand. This is a Speed 2 level of disaster, with Warner Brothers massively overspending on a sequel only to see its audience all but abandon the film domestically, says box office analyst Jeff Bach of Exhibitor Relations. Warner Brothers has the biggest hit of the fall with Beetlejuice 2, and now likely the largest flop in The Joker. The truth is, the creators of Joker 2 went in a direction that the majority of audiences didn't want to follow. Ultimately, choices were made, and unfortunately they didn't align with moviegoers' tastes. Which is true. They put out the film that they wanted to put out, not in any way, no fan service. They were like, fuck the fans. We don't care what you want this movie to be. We're going to make it what we want to be. And collectively the fans went, cool, we're out. But at $200 million...
That was too expensive. This movie could have been made for less than half.
20 million for Joaquin Phoenix, 20 million for Todd Phillips, 12 million for Lady Gaga. That is $52 million just for the main three people.
Terrible.
And then you throw in costumes, which are sparkly costumes, right?
Yeah.
Music rights.
Yeah, the movie could have cost 150, maybe even 120.
If everybody had been willing to take a pay cut, it could have been 100, 125 million. But then they still spent over 100 million to market it. And let's be honest, that first trailer, flawless.
Oh yeah, whoever cut that trailer
deserves an Oscar.
But at the same time, like if you go back and watch that trailer, it's showing you everything that the movie's going to be.
But it's not showing you what the story is. And I think people were let down by the story.
You know he's in jail. You know he's going to go to trial. You know that it's going to be a musical.
Well, no, a lot of people didn't think that it was actually... You and I knew it was going to be a musical because we're pop culturalists. But I think that Middle America didn't think that it was going to be a musical. They didn't know that it was going to be the musical that it is. Right? And again, not a... big, well-produced, showy musical. It's a lot of awkward live singing on set, which other people aren't going to like. You are a movie fan. I am a movie fan. We are Batman fans or DC fans. We're musical fans. I am kind of like, I'm not shocked that I enjoyed this movie as much as I did, because looking at my track record of the films that I like, the things that I like, even the fact that I fucking begrudgingly like Joker 1, of course we're going to like it. We're literally sitting here recording a podcast about it.
We are. Yeah, that's true.
Middle America, that old couple that was sitting a few rows behind us.
I saw them come in and I was like, oh, you guys are not going to like this movie.
Yeah. What did they think?
Like, did you watch the first one?
Like, what was it? Just, they were like, oh, well, it's only going to cost us less than $20 to go see the Joker. Let's go see it. It's their Tuesday night movie date. That's going to be you and me one day. Sure, maybe this film is made for us. Or made for people like us. Who go into genre, things with low expectations beyond, I just want to love it. I want to see what it is and I want to enjoy it, right? I will die on the hill that The Marvels is a great MCU movie and that it is funny and really well done and did not get the credit it deserved, while fanboys, loud, angry, keyboard warrior fanboy incels behind their computers shit on that movie and helped make it bomb. Same with this one. How dare they take away their Joker and turn it into this? I even had a coworker say to me today, oh, do you think it's going to be bad because of the Gaga of it all? And I was like, absolutely not. Gaga's the reason I'm seeing this film. Mother Monster forever. It's the people out there that don't care as much as we care to like things as much as we like. We love the Marvel shows. We love the Star Wars shows. We love these things because it is more of stories that we love. And we find the stuff that we love in them and the stuff that we don't like. We're like, all right, begrudgingly, I'm going to accept the mods and fucking Boba Fett. But I hate them. I hate them.
They're terrible.
But it doesn't mean that I hate all of Star Wars now.
Or all of Boba Fett.
Or all of Boba Fett. We're not those types of fans. We are fans that go into something hoping to love it, finding the reason that we love it, and holding on to that reason. We're not the guys that are like, how dare they turn my Joker into a blah, 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 blah. How dare my Joker have sex? I've never had sex. This makes me angry, or whatever it is. Maybe you and I understand what Todd Phillips is going for. And yes, again, I don't think this movie has a soul behind it. I feel like maybe Todd Phillips was just pissed about having to do it because he didn't want to make a sequel. And I don't know if Zaslav forced him to do it, like I've read online, or if truly Joaquin Phoenix had a fucking, mushroom nightmare and decided to turn it into a movie. Again, such a pretentious douchebag. But whatever the reason was, I don't feel like the heart was there. This movie has no heart. And that's my main criticism, is that it just felt dead behind the eyes.
I didn't get that.
It just felt like it was going through the motions. And that's, and you didn't get that. And that's fine, because subjectively, you enjoyed it in your own way, and I enjoyed it in my own way, but my criticisms don't have to be your criticisms.
I know. That's why we're talking about it.
That's why we're talking about it.
I think, just like with Fight Club, people walked away from Fight Club getting the completely wrong message from it.
Yeah, 100%.
I think people walked away from the first Joker getting the complete... There was no reason for that movie to make $1 billion. No. And
The only reason that movie should have made $1 billion is if Arthur Fleck killed Bruce Wayne at the end of it, and like that was the alternate universe twist, right? Like that would have been cool as fuck. They're like, oh yeah, here's Batman. Now Batman's dead, motherfuckers. Pew pew. This Gotham is fucked. Like maybe that would have been cool. But like the first Joker is a beautifully tragic story about a man who needs help in a city that is unable and unwilling to help him.
Yeah, and
it did not have to be a Joker movie.
Second movie is about that same man who is now going through, how.
But he's going through the justice system, and we all know the justice system is wildly flawed. I can't believe that judge would even let him show up in the Joker makeup.
That was probably the most unbelievable part, was that
and then like the weird...
I understand representing himself,
yeah,
but allowing him to dress up as the person who killed somebody else on live television
while they're airing the trial
that
on
would never
live.
have been allowed.
And then he's doing that like stupid Elmer Fudd as Warner Brothers.
He reminded me of that
the chicken lawyer
from the chicken lawyer from Futurama.
Accent.
Yeah.
It there were so many choices to this film that I was like, maybe they should have explained that and done less like just lingering
but
shots on Arthur's
talking
face.
Like that, it smiled so big.
Oh, of course he did. Like I don't know. Like I didn't hate this movie. I would give it a 3. What did you say? A 4?
4.
Fair. I'd give it a 3. I've got my criticisms. My criticisms are I just didn't feel like there was any heart behind it. And I'm not saying like it had to be happy or upbeat or joyful or lovely, but there was no love put to the creation of the making of this story. That's what I feel.
Would you
feel
think
like
the same way if you didn't if this was Todd Phillips' idea to make a sequel, and that
if this was the story he wanted to tell, if he was like, I've got 2 movies that I want to tell this Joker story in overall.
And this is what you get.
Maybe, but I still felt like there was just something missing. There was some soul missing to this movie. It was just all dour. It was dead behind the eyes. The story was entertaining. The music was all right. I loved Lady Gaga. The acting, Kathleen Keener, fucking what a joy it was to see Kathleen Keener on a big screen again, being flawless in every way. Seeing Steve Coogan, a nice little Hamlet 2 reunion with Kathleen Keener and Steve Coogan, made me really happy. I was crushed when Arthur's like prison buddy gets murdered by Brandon Gleeson. Brandon Gleeson killed it in this film.
I love Brandon Gleeson.
I love him so. I was so happy to see him. I thought that the dynamic between like the main guards that always surrounded Arthur and Arthur was interesting. I would have liked more of that story.
I think they gave you a lot of good moments with them.
There's just...
Especially when Arthur was so thankful for the things that Brendan Gleeson did.
Yeah, but
and
then
was like, thanks, buddy. And
pat him on the hat. And then Brendan Gleeson fucking slaps him so hard in the back of the head.
Because he wants to remind him his place.
Yeah, which, I enjoyed and understood. But it's just a little bit missing. But I'm not sitting here saying it was a shitty movie and don't see it. I'm saying don't pay money to see it. Watch it when it comes out on Max and make up, your own opinion. I would like to talk about the very final shot, though. Because everybody was like, the final shot, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. It's the true origin of a Batman villain. Because a couple times throughout the movie, and I do mean a couple, you see this dude twice at best.
Oh, yeah, I was watching him.
This guy is glaring at Arthur.
He's always looking at him.
Yeah, glaring, not looking, glaring. Like, I'm looking at you right now, but glaring is more like,
I don't think it was quite like that.
There was some glare there. And then at the end of the movie, he goes up to Arthur, and he's like, he tells him a joke, about a sociopath and a psychotic clown, and then he stabs Arthur repeatedly in the gut with a shiv. And as Arthur lays there dying, behind him, blurry and in the background, and because the camera is focused on Arthur, this guy takes the shiv and he gives himself
a smile. With the shiv.
Yeah. As he cackles wildly.
Yeah.
And Arthur slowly dies. And then the movie ends there. So the implication is that that's the Joker, or is that just the next Joker?
It's just, I think it's
It was the
I don't think it
the
matters,
mouth cutting
really.
that made me just go, I swear to Christ, if this guy's coming for Heath Ledger's Joker.
No, because I don't think they're going to do a third one now,
Well, no, definitely not.
which is fine.
But-
They shouldn't have. As much as I did like this movie and liked it better than the first one.
Was this Todd Phillips' way of being like, you know what, fuck you all of the Jokers, or fuck all the Batman. I'm going to give everybody what they think now is going to be the origin of Heath Ledger's scars that we don't know the origin for. I hope that's not the case. I swear to God, if he comes out in an interview and he's like, I just really wanted to, like, you know, pay homage to and maybe give an origin to the Heath Ledger Joker, I will come for him.
But you won't.
Well, maybe on the internet through threads and on this podcast, but not physically. Also, when you know, at the beginning of when we were sitting in the movie waiting for it to start, doing the 90 minutes of fucking commercials that they air before movies these days, they showed a picture of Todd Phillips, and he just looked like the saddest, weaseliest little, like...
He's always looked like that.
Yeah, but they showed Martin Scorsese and John Krasinski and then a rat man.
I mean, his IMDb picture, and I think we talked about this for Joker 1, is just a black and white photo of not him smoking, but the smoke just being in his face.
Ugh, what a pretentious douchebag. Like, this guy and I would not have a good conversation.
I did.
Ever.
I also liked this movie because I had Megalopolis. Mm-hmm. And I'm still on the fence on which way I'm kind of leaning with Megalopolis.
Did you like Joker 2 more than Megalopolis?
I did. I did.
Somewhere Francis Ford Coppola just felt a little pang in his heart.
Francis Ford Coppola posted a photo of Joker 2 on his Instagram and said that how much he loved Joker 2.
That is another thing that drives me up the fucking wall, right?
Oh.
The Marvels did better their opening weekend and an overall box office than the Joker will. And Hollywood came for that movie like, nobody wants to watch a superhero movie with women in it. Nobody wants to watch a superhero movie filmed by a woman. Fmiff, fmiff. Nita Costa, what happened? And now they're like, oh, Todd Phillips, pet, precious boy, you had a flop, but you'll be okay. You'll survive. And it's just some backhanded, double-sorted bullshit. A female-directed and ran movie, right, starring three women in a superhero genre bombs because, by the way, it was during the fucking actors strike and they couldn't be out there promoting it, right? And by the way, I've not seen much of Lady Gaga or Joaquin Phoenix promoting this movie. They're not exactly out there doing it either.
No,
but like
Brendan Gleeson was.
Oh, yeah, but what else has he got to do?
What else do any of them have to
Get a
do?
paycheck and go on with his life.
Sure.
They blamed every woman on that set for the reason why nobody wanted to see the Marvels. But all I see on my threads constantly, daily, is people being like, y'all, I was sleeping on the Marvels, but it's a fun fucking movie. And people are discovering it on Disney Plus and enjoying it like I knew they would.
Well, yeah,
and of course they weren't going to go to see it in the theater because there was no promotion for it because of the strikes, right? But that has everything to do with, like, nobody wants to see a movie about women. But here's a man who comes along, makes a movie that is basically a giant fuck you to the studio and its fans, and it bombs like I think he probably knew it would. Everybody's like, oh, poor Todd Phillips, will he be okay? And it's bullshit. There's a double standard there, and it annoys me. Todd Phillips will be fine, and yeah, he's not going to make a Joker 3, thank Christ. But, you know, the people will find every reason to bend over backwards to not blame him for this failure. But it is his failure. He wrote it, he directed it, and then he refused to let anybody see it, and he put it out, and collectively the world went, nah, we're good, thanks, man. And everybody will be like, well, it wasn't his fault.
I think it'd be really interesting to know in 10 years what people think about this movie.
Well, we'll talk in a decade.
When they take a step back for a moment, like I did, and not going into it expecting a DC superhero movie.
Yeah, well, but honey, you're not the typical movie
I know, but this whole thing where we have to cater to fans.
Yeah.
I know they're the ones buying the tickets.
Yeah.
But just like with Megalopolis, I feel like when people are constantly saying, you know, superhero movies are ruining cinema.
Yeah.
we're tired of these cookie cutter movies
Yeah.
over and over and over. It's the same thing. Prequels and sequels. And yes, this is a sequel, but it wasn't a sequel that the fans wanted. It's a sequel that the artists who made it wanted.
Yeah.
Or were forced to make. Or were just forced and then was like, well, what can we make it about?
I think Todd Phillips was forced to make a sequel. I don't think he was forced to make this sequel. I feel like he was like, fine, you want a sequel? I'll give you a fucking sequel. And then he made this movie. Yeah. I feel like part of this movie was made in spite.
People are constantly begging for originality.
Yeah.
And something different and new. And to make a sequel from a Joker movie about a guy who kills 6 people and now has to go on trial for it.
Yeah.
And it's also a musical.
Yeah.
That's a pretty original concept, idea.
It is.
And story. And, you finally give the people maybe not what they wanted in a Joker sequel.
Yeah.
But you at least give them a movie that I've never seen before.
But, honey, everybody says that they want something new and original. But then they put out... yes, these are all based off of things. But, they put out Lady Jane and they canceled it in a second. Star Wars fans have been begging for a Star Wars story that doesn't involve the Skywalkers, and they got one in The Acolyte, and because there were black people in it, and the white people didn't like that, nobody watched it, and it got canceled the second week after it aired. Chaos, that show with Jeff Goldblum where he plays Zeus. It's like a modern Greek mythology story.
Already canceled?
Already canceled.
Jeez, didn't even know it was out yet.
My coworker is going to be pissed because she has been talking at length about what a great show it is. Yeah, it's been out like 2 weeks, canceled. Like, people say they want new and original, but they don't. They want the same 6 stories regurgitated into their face again and again and again. And like, you and I want original because, again, pop culturalists, movie fans, we're literally doing this project of ours, this sweet, dumb, wonderful little podcast, because we love this stuff so much. And we go into these movies. Well, I want to say we go into them not wanting to hate them, but y'all listen to the Shining episodes, so here we are. Yes, this was an original idea for a sequel, and I enjoyed it. I just didn't enjoy it a lot, and that's okay.
That's okay.
And when I talk to my coworkers, they're going to be like, so what did you think about the Joker? I'll be like, you should listen to the podcast. I enjoyed it more than I thought, but I didn't love it. And that's shocking for me, too. Because I was sitting there during the film just like, I wish there was a little more soul to it. I know you don't understand what that means.
Don't.
It just didn't. It felt like it was 75% of the way there. And it was just missing some spirit. I know you don't understand.
I'm not expecting you to give it a 4.
Yeah.
And the fact that you gave it a 3, I'm so surprised.
You're
I thought
there
you
like,
were not liking this movie at all.
You even said,
there.
like, oh, it's 1 star, fuck this film. But that's not... Robin, do you want some of my White Claw? Do we want to get a drunk producer Robin up in this? Because that'll be entertaining. Go away.
But yeah, while we were watching it, I was just like, oh, she probably doesn't like any of
Because there were a
this.
few times... I once looked at you and went, what movie is this? And you were like, shh.
Yeah, I'm watching this. Be quiet.
It was an experience, and I'm glad that I experienced it. Because I think in a very recent podcast, we were like, we're not going to fucking see this movie. The reviews are too bad. I'm glad that I saw it. I'm glad that we didn't listen to the internet, because we almost did.
Yeah, we were almost like, well, maybe we should just wait until it's on HBO Max.
And then, I swear to God, I almost clicked on a Joker spoilers thread, just being like, I want to know what this ending's all about. And I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad that we saw it in the theater. It's an interesting film. It is not the movie that everyone expected and wanted, but it's an interesting movie.
For that.
You know what?
Because I probably would have been.
Because you know what? Neither was the Joker. I guess if you think about it,
I probably would have been more upset if I went into this movie.
Yeah.
And it leaned, like I said, if it leaned even more into the Batman and Joker of it all.
Yeah.
I probably would have been more upset and not liked it.
If you think about it, the first Joker was also not what everybody expected, because they were like, oh, we're going to get a Joker origin story, and it looks, hard and grueling about a man with mental illness, but then it was really heavily on the system's failing him. He's been abused. Like, I feel like they're like, here's, a man who's down on his luck, who's had a couple bad days, who cracks and becomes the Joker, but then they turn that dial up to 14 with the mental health of it all, the way that mental health was in the 80s, and, you know, how little he could get help and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, this story was not what everybody expected, and I am ultimately glad for it. I'm glad that I saw it with you. I enjoyed the way that we saw it. I enjoyed that we rushed home, ate some Taco Bell, and are sitting here right now. I'm glad I saw it. Maybe people will discover this movie on Max and be like, even if it's just half of the people that wanted to go see it and then decided not to because the internet was like, nah, don't do it. Maybe even if half of them are like, you know what, it wasn't that bad. You're right. Maybe in 10 years, this movie's going to have a different story behind it.
Especially people who may have saw the first one, liked it enough, aren't really DC Batman fans, and were just like, well, it's on HBO Max, let's watch it. You know,
and I kind of liked that this movie gave a big fuck you to all the fanboy incels out there. The Joker.
They just complain and complain.
The
more I complain,
I'm glad that Todd Phillips didn't lean in and give them what they wanted to, because they would have been more insufferable.
The amount of news stories we hear about fans backlash, and then the studio caves and changes it for them, and you watch it and just like,
and then you're watching it and you're like, no.
Like when an artist gets to just make what they want to make, I appreciate it more.
Even if it is a giant fuck you to the people that wrote a $200 million check for that project.
I mean, that's kind of very Jokerish.
That is very Jokerish. Still doesn't make me like Todd Phillips or Joaquin
You don't have
Phoenix.
to like them.
Yeah, but
I do like their movies.
Yeah, well, great. I like Lady Gaga.
Great.
Yeah. And yeah, Oscar Isaac should have been in it wherever he would have wanted to be. Thank you for joining us on this hot and quick and dirty, spoiler-filled bonus episode of The Joker. We've got a lot coming your way for Halloween and just our regular stuff, so keep in touch with us. As ever, rate us what you want on the podcast app of your choice. 5 stars, please. Find us on Threads, Instagram, and Letterboxd at MovieMinglePod. Write us at movieminglepod@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube at MovieMinglePodcast. And until next time, I don't know, go have a song and a dance and go mingle. Bye.
Are you an effective team?
We are an effective team.
Let them fight.
How did you just do that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Here on Caladan, we ruled by air power and sea power. On Arrakis, we need to cultivate desert power.
Welcome, Mr. Beach. What's that bar? I'm a little confused.
Well, we wouldn't want that, would we?
I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
What is that?
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Toga, 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 toga.